Tonight's reality check, we are questioning how Pritchard spent federal COVID relief funds.
Records NBC 15 News obtained show the city paid high-ranking staff tens of thousands of dollars to be on the city's COVID team. Payments some residents are angry about, but the mayor is defending. In response to the pandemic, the federal government doled out billions in emergency aid to state and local governments across the country. Pritchard received more than $5 million in American Rescue Plan Act funding, or ARPA funding. Financial reports NBC 15 News obtained show the city formed a COVID team and paid team members nearly $175,000 using ARPA funds. We asked Pritchard's mayor, who was not on the team, about the payments. Do you know what they did to earn that?
They weren't. It's quite that simple. You know, as you know, when the COVID came up, no one had any real idea how this should work, how the funds should be put together, planned, and execution and implementation of those funds. There's a lot of work goes into that.
The report shows 6 high-level Pritchard City staff was on the COVID team. Former Chief of Staff Rodney Clements, Interim Fire Chief David Hale, Police Chief Walter Knight, and Executive Assistant TJ Petway were all paid almost $28,000 in 6 months, from June 2021 to January 2022. City Clerk Franklin McMillan was paid nearly $25,000, and Pritchard City Attorney Moshe Donald was paid the most, nearly $33,000.
The optics here are terrible. It's a terrible optic.
To some people, it would look like people are lining their pockets here. Is that what's going on here?
That's your statement. That's not mine. I just explained to you very, very clearly that the law clearly stated that under premium pay, that it was an allowable expense, and they work for their money, just like anyone else does.
In an email, City Attorney Moshe Donald said in part, quote, individuals worked overtime to prepare the city of Pritchard to operate during a national pandemic and to face and respond to ever-changing circumstances and challenges constantly presented by COVID-19. Former Chief of Staff Howard Porter says even if the law allows it, he believes the payments were not appropriate.
There are citizens who could have used this $100 and some odd thousand. There are individual citizens who could have used this. And there are employees, it could have been spread around to the lower paid employees.
Records also show the city paid a consulting firm $178,000.
Other cities we checked with, Mobile, Saraland, and Chickasaw, did not use ARPA funds to pay high-ranking staff.
Tonight's reality check, fire hydrant failure in Pritchard.
A family lost everything they owned in a fire yesterday because there was not enough water pressure in a nearby fire hydrant to put out the flames.
Today, the Water Board was prepared to talk about its failure behind closed doors in executive session until I stopped them.
Go into executive session to discuss the issue of the house fires.
All 5 Pritchard Water Board members voted to go into a secret executive session to discuss the fire hydrant failure during Sunday's fire.
I'm with NBC 15 News, and I just went for the record to object to a board going into executive session to discuss a matter of public safety.
After pointing out the inappropriate use of executive session and importance of such a topic being discussed in the open, John Johnson changed his tune and noted that's how business has to be done sometimes to get answers.
Thank you, Ms. Ramey. Thank you. Amen. Thank you. And I'll rescind my motion.
The board then adjourned without discussing the breakdown.
The fire hydrant, it's not water coming out of there.
Aisha Davis says the flames quickly spread through her grandparents' home on Mayor Avenue after firefighters arrived on scene.
They could have saved the fire, could have been put the majority of the fire out. But now her house is a total loss because it's no water pressure.
Davis says this picture was taken as firefighters tried to get water out of the hydrant. The master intake gauge on the fire truck read 0. The fire department says there wasn't enough water pressure and says that is a Pritchard water failure, a failure that resulted in an irreplaceable loss for the Davis family.
Her house could have been saved. And that's the only thing that kind of hurt because all our childhood memories are gone.
Tonight at 6, the infighting on the board is leading to public calls for their impeachment. NBC 15 News is committed to holding those in power accountable. If you see an issue in our community that we need to address, give our Reality Check hotline a call.
Tonight, possible Medicare fraud taking place right in our area. A 92-year-old Robertstown woman says she keeps getting COVID tests mailed to her that she did not order.
Medicare statements show taxpayers have paid for those unsolicited tests twice.
This is from Hong Kong.
The at-home COVID tests came from as far away as Hong Kong and were shipped to 92-year-old Dale Stanton's Robertsdale home from all across the country.
A warehouse in New Jersey.
Oh, here's Dallas, Texas.
Stanton says she received these tests 5 different times in recent months.
And when the next one came, didn't open it, I just pitched it over there. I said, I'm not interested in it. And that's what I kept doing.
Stan says at first she thought they might be free samples until she checked her Medicare statement and realized Uncle Sam had forked out nearly $200 for them.
I think it's a scam.
Her daughter, Barbara Staples, worries it might be a scam too.
She didn't have a computer, she didn't go online and order anything. Her doctor didn't order them, and she didn't fill out a form, anything. So these are completely unsolicited tests.
We called the number on the Medicare statement for the California lab that billed the government twice for the tests.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time.
But couldn't get through. The statement shows Medicare twice paid the lab $94.
She's an eagle eye when it comes to that.
The Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General warns scammers buy stolen Medicare numbers, order the test, and submit fraudulent bills to Medicare for reimbursement. In April, 18 defendants across 9 federal districts were charged. 2 men from Florida were accused of fraudulently billing Medicare more than $8 million for unsolicited COVID tests, but the agency would not say if the men were connected to the tests Stanton received.
Our concern is the fact that someone has her Medicare information that they could put in this claim, and that Medicare is paying it without any questions.
Now, if you receive COVID tests you did not order, you are asked to report it. We've included how on our website, mynbc15.com.
Well, tonight, a local mother is sharing her heartbreaking story of losing her son to addiction.
And she hopes by being open about her son's overdose death, it will reduce the stigma, help other families, and prompt important conversations. Shredding on the guitar, Harrison Miles shined on this Nashville stage.
He had such a gift he could play by ear.
Listening to her son pursue his passion gave Lori Miles so much joy. Joy that was shattered last September when she heard the news that would forever change her life. Harrison died from a drug overdose days after leaving rehab.
The last time I saw him, I said, I'm here for your sobriety, but I cannot be here if you're using. And I don't think he thought I would really leave, and that was probably one of the hardest times in my life.
Harrison, a jokester who never met a stranger, routinely tested negative for drugs in high school playing sports at St. Paul's. Lori says his opioid use began while attending the University of Alabama. That was the first time the family intervened and got him to rehab. Lori remembers feeling good about his progress visiting the facility for Family Weekend in 2010.
I was so mesmerized by this one family who had battled this addiction for so many years, and their son was 32. And I remember we were looking at each other going, oh, that's not us. Look at us. We're so smart. We've jumped on this ahead of the game. And when Harrison passed away, he was 33. So at that time, I didn't understand the power of addiction.
Tragically, she understands all too well now and is on a mission to make sure other families understand drug addiction is a disease we should talk more openly about.
I hope, number one, it breaks the stigma of addiction being something that you're embarrassed about.
Shame, Lori says she knows Harrison felt. He never wanted to be an addict. He wanted to be on stage.
I'm not ashamed of Harrison. I'm so proud of him, of his, 33 years he had here on earth. I'm very proud of him.
The Drug Education Council has resources to help if you or someone in your family is struggling with addiction. You can find a link to those resources in the Find It section of our website, mynbc15.com. The Drug Education Council's annual luncheon is Monday at noon at the Renaissance Riverview Plaza Hotel in downtown Mobile. Doors open at 11. If you would like to go, contact the Mobile Drug Education Council for ticket information.